on, people. So this is a pretty good video. This is by the Rational Prepper. It's got 26,000 subs. Might want to, seems pretty reasonable. It's going to sound like I'm bashing him and disagreeing with him and saying he's full of shit. But I'm just giving an alternative method to what he's saying. We may be saying the same thing. But I'm just going to give you my input on his video. So, again, this is going to be used on the Fair Use Act for critique and education. Unfortunately, I got to play it to react to it, and I'll be stopping it. Okay? So let's listen to this video.
It's a topic riddled with myth and misunderstanding. One-off anecdotes and extreme edge cases often drive new preppers and even long-time gun owners to set misguided priorities for self-defense equipment and training. Who can blame them? Movies and video games pump us full of fantastical...
I thought in this scene right here that he ran out of ammo. I didn't see this movie. I'm thinking this is the Wick dude. But I've never seen any of the is it John Wick movies? Oh, maybe it didn't. I thought at one point, I thought his slide locked to the rear and then he kept shooting. Huh. Alright. Maybe I missed that. Under the arm shot's pretty dangerous. But we're not really looking at this guy. I want to talk about...
Gun salesmen work our insecurities to upsell us on more expensive models. Wannabe soldiers and cops get confused about the mission of the self-defender.
Okay, so he's talking about the self-defender, and then he mentions prepper, and then he mentions non-cop. Now, look, I don't think there's a big difference between cops and civilians, other than cops are required to go to incidents that we know are going to be bad, whereas citizens are not required, and you make a choice to go seek out trouble. To me, that's the big difference. Now, obviously, some cops want to take their guy into custody and catch him. Some want to let him go. I said many times when I was a cop, I always gave my guys room to run. I was in shape, I could run, and if you wanted to run, I would just chase you and call in the boys, and I'd get a lot of guys there, and it'd make it easier. If you're going to resist and fight me, I'd rather wear you out while you're running. I'll follow you, and then by the time I get back up, we can take you down easier. So I always gave my guy, and that could be why I had a lot of foot pursuits, but whatever. So he's kind of making it a big distinction there. I don't have a problem with this being ready for a tactical. I think if you're a prepper or a self-defender or a stand your ground or just a homeowner or just an American, you should have the ability to deal with multiple situations and not just plan, I'm a pacifist, I'm a really nice guy, and the only way I want to engage anybody ever and have conflict is if they break into my home. So I'm only going to have one gun in my home in case somebody breaks in. You can do that, and I mean, that's your choice, and that's your option, and you're free to do that. But I think the more well-rounded you become with long guns, pistols, handguns, you understand the mechanics of a weapon, how it functions, how to reload, ammo. The more you know about all that, the better you're going to be able to deal when something happens. Versus if you just isolate, I only want to shoot somebody if they come to my house, so I'm only going to keep one gun in my house in case somebody breaks in. I don't think that is good, and I don't think he says that.
And their loud, unyielding opinions stoke the infamous internet herd mentality. What's missing is real data. Several years back, Claude Werner analyzed 482 successful defensive gun use incidents.
He says the name really quick, Club Warner, I think. I don't know. Let me see if I can.
Several years back, Claude Werner analyzed 482 successful defensive gun use incidents, as reported over 5 years in the NRA column, The Armed Citizen. He wanted to cut through the...
Okay, so the NRA, I'm not sure I would use their data as stats for the norm, because obviously they're biased. Obviously, they don't have all the incidents, and if they don't like an incident that happened, they could ignore it. So quoting stats from the NRA is not what I would call complete, but it's still good information, and it seems like good data.
The BS to see if there are any trends with the folks who got this rare life and death situation right. Now, some say the data from his analysis is too old to be relevant. They don't know what they're talking about.
Okay, old data doesn't mean it's not relevant. Times change, tactics change, weaponry changes. The survival mindset really doesn't change over time. You survive, you fight to survive, you do what it takes, you overcome, and you stand a fight. I mean, that really doesn't change over time.
You see, Werner didn't stop at 482. His growing database now has over 5,000 entries.
Okay, so 5,000 incidents is a pretty good database, but I'm not sure if I missed it. Is this data that he's given us based on the 482 or the 5,000? I'm not sure.
If you look at his blog posts on research.
So I've never seen this guy, Tactical Professor. If he's got good info, I might have to check him out. Hopefully my viewers will check him out, and then they'll tell me either on the live or in the comments whether it's worth checking out.
And shootings, you'll see things haven't changed, and the conclusions he came to with his original report have only grown more solid. Werner's not just some random numbers nerd. He's retired Army with 10 years in Special Operations. He was chief instructor at the elite Rogers Shooting School. He's got a master classification on 4 weapon.
I don't know what this IDPA is. Most things like this, I'm not too impressed with. This guy may be a sharp dude, but when this guy put up that he's an NRA instructor, he kind of lost credibility with me because I told you, I went and got my NRA certificate, and I was like, I couldn't believe the people. They passed a woman as an instructor that couldn't even freaking load her gun at the firing range and shoot, and they passed her as an instructor. So the NRA is not what I would call an elite standard or some sort of badge of honor. Any freaking idiot that shows up with a gun can pass any course from the NRA because they want money.
Types with the International Defensive Pistol Association, and he is currently an NRA certified weapons instructor. This guy knows his stuff.
Okay, I'm not sure just because of this that he knows his stuff, but that's just my opinion.
All his incidents involved private citizens acting in self-defense or the defense of others. Most incidents took place in the home. The next most likely place was a business, then public places, then in or around vehicles.
So this is a good stat. I always have a gun in my vehicle. I always have a gun in public. I always have a gun when I go in businesses, and I always have a gun in my home. So to me, it doesn't really matter where this happens, but I'm kind of surprised that the highest number is in the home. I just don't. If I was doing this without any stats, just from my observations and being a cop and responding to things, most violence to me happens in these 3 areas, not here. Now, it's still almost 50% in these 3 areas, but I just kind of, when I saw that, I was like, really?
Vehicles. Importantly, shots were fired by defenders in only 72% of Werner's incidents. That means a whopping 28% of the time, the defender was able to defuse the situation by merely drawing their weapon and verbally challenging the criminal.
Okay, I'm not sure if he's implying that you should train to verbal challenge. As a cop, when we train, we made people verbalize, show me your hands, drop the gun, then shoot, to get them into some muscle memory, to work their lungs so they're breathing. People tend to hold their breath when they panic. They suck in air and they panic and they go in that, that fetal position, that tense up and that, oh shit, and the sphincter sucks up. And I mean, it's just, all those things happen. And if you kind of train to verbalize, it helps you breathing, and it looks good on video, and it makes sure not only does the suspect know, but any other people around you know what you're communicating. Now, the problem with that is, if you watch cop videos, you got 14 cops all yelling, show me your hands, put your hands up, don't move, show me your hands, put your hands, get on your knees, lay down, stand up, don't move. That's a problem if you have everybody verbalizing.
Criminal. This brings up the first of several misplaced training priorities. Even though a positive resolution with no shots fired is by far the best and most desired outcome, few gun owners or even firearms instructors ever think to drill on the skills needed to do this right.
Okay, so I'm not sure that you should be wasting time, and I'm not saying it's a waste of time, but if you only have a limited amount of time, which most people do, I think trigger time is more important than yelling at a paper target. But I do think you ought to be cognitive of the fact that I need to breathe and I need to verbalize, and if that helps you to do that at a paper target, then by all means do it.
Right. It may sound like a no-brainer, but when the adrenaline is pumping and you don't have a plan, things can go south quickly. Screwing this up can get you shot, get you disarmed, or land you in serious legal hot water.
Now, we talk about this all the time. Gun owners are the enemy of the government because they want to be the only one with guns. So anytime they can reduce a gun owner, a meat eater, somebody who's going to stand up for themselves, government likes that because they don't like to be challenged. And they damn sure don't like to be challenged by an armed public, which is why most all governments disarm their citizens. Now, the idiots out there will be saying, but that makes us safe, Rick. And some guy made a comment the other day about, I was like, why didn't this guy have a gun on one video? I was like, if this guy had a gun, this wouldn't happen. And this guy's comment was, I could tell he was a left-wing pacifist, probably wringing out his pink panties after he peed because he stubbed his toe. But he freaking makes a comment, because in a civilized society, we don't need guns to handle conflict. I was like, you're a freaking idiot, but whatever.
Now, the weapons deployed. Werner's successful defenders primarily used handguns.
Of course. I think everybody knows that handguns are going to be, that's why a handgun is called a defensive gun and a long gun is called a offensive gun. If I'm going out hunting and I want to drop either a target, either an adversary or food or whatever, a long gun has more stopping power. It has pointier bullets, which means they fly straighter and longer. They're usually higher velocity because they have longer barrels and more powder. So if I'm hunting offensively, I'm on the offense, a long gun is what I use. Hence, long guns are offensive. A handgun is defensive. It's an oh shit moment. It's easy to carry. It's more accessible. Doesn't have as much knockdown. Doesn't shoot as far. But I can get somebody off me in order to get to my long gun. And a lot of people, the old adage, I use my pistol to fight to get to my rifle. Because if I'm in a fight, I want a rifle. But I can't carry a rifle all the time, so that's why a handgun. So this doesn't surprise me.
They wounded attackers in 29% of incidents and killed at least one assailant in an additional 34%.
So, actually, looking at this stat, citizens with less training than our government-trained professionals have a higher hit rate than freaking cops. Because cops miss 87% of the time. I think last stat I heard it was only 11 or 12% of the time we hit our target. Now, obviously, I've gone over that. Cops are behind the power curve. They have to react, but citizens have to react. So, I mean, the fact that citizens are hitting more than cops, we call that a clue.
Smaller caliber guns, that's the .380s and below, scored a surprising 30% one-shot instant kills.
That was surprising to me. I'm not a big fan of .380 and below. However, I told a lot of women, if they want to get a gun, the perfect gun is a 5-shot revolver with an enclosed hammer and a .22 Magnum. A .22 Magnum is a great round. It's a small caliber, doesn't kick that much. A revolver, they can shoot from inside their purse. I like that gun, and I've always promoted that for women. And even men, I mean, I carry one. Mine's a .357 instead of a .22 mag, and a .357 hurts like hell. But if I'm ever in a shooting, I'd rather be shooting a .387 than a .22 mag. But according to this, 30% one shot. That's one shot kills. That's pretty good.
In fact, smaller caliber guns were used successfully about a quarter of the time.
Okay, so he gets into larger guns here in a minute, and I kind of disagree with that, but he's kind of right here kind of saying, hey, small caliber guns are okay. Maybe. I don't think a .380 or a .25 is a good self-defense gun. Now remember, a .380 is nothing but a 9mm short. So it's like the difference between a .357 and a .38. A .38 is kind of like a .357 short. Well, a .380 is a 9mm short. Same bullet, less powder, shorter, less kick.
The .35 caliber family was the most common size deployed.
That's because every damn body and their brother wants a 9mm, has a 9mm, and thinks a 9mm is a great round. Because it's a NATO round, everyone else buys it. It's common. That's why that one's higher, I think. Not because it's superior.
Includes 9mm, 38s, and .357 Magnums. The least common size used were the big boys.
Okay, so here's where it kind of implies that you don't need a big gun. Look, only 15% of these shots were with 45s. I would say if you tested people who carried guns, I'd say probably less than half or less than a quarter carry 45s. They're bulky, they're heavy, they kick more. Most people carry the smaller 9mm, maybe a 40. but not a lot of people carry 45s. And the fact that 15% were 45s, to me, could indicate that people that carry 45s are more tactically aware and more able to defend themselves than the mass majority of the people that carry 9mm. But again, I'm just kind of commenting. I'm not saying this guy's wrong or bad.
Altogether, 85% of successful defenders use something smaller than a .40 caliber. This shatters the myth that a big bore gun is required to effectively defend yourself.
I don't think a big bore gun is required, but if I had my choice, bigger is always better. And faster is always better. The more velocity, a 45 only shoots at 900 feet per second. But that 230 grain bullet going that fast does a lot of damage. I would rather have a 45 that shot at 2,000 feet per second. But they don't have that.
It's far more important to have a weapon you are likely to carry and are comfortable shooting.
Now this is a critical point that I taught over the years all the time. Carry what you feel comfortable with. Carry what you're going to carry. And carry something that you're not going to have reasons or excuses not to carry. People get big, pretty guns, and they have to have the big holster. And if they don't wear a belt or if they don't have the right attire for that day, they can't carry their guns, so they don't. Like I said, I keep that 357 in my sweatpants, in my back pocket of my jeans. I can drop it in my boot. I can put it in the pocket of my jacket. That gun is easy to carry, and I always have it with me. It's small. It only got 5 rounds, and he's going to get into a number of rounds here in a minute. It's only got 5 rounds, but those 5 rounds does a pretty good punch.
Next, engagement distance. The science of proxemics defines different zones of human interaction. Werner says that shootings and gunfights involving private citizens almost universally occur in social space.
Okay, I agree with this. Most all gunfights always happen within lunging distance is what I use for the term. If you can lunge and grab or take a few steps and grab or push or contact somebody, that's where most shootings occur. Now, he's calling it social space 12 feet. I can get 12 feet pretty quick. That's only 3 or 4 steps. So I definitely agree that this is where people need to be the most aware. Remember, when somebody's out here, you have reaction time. You have time to hide, to seek cover, to decide, to get your gun out. You have much more time from here. So it decreases the lag time or your response time. When people get into this area, you better be like a midget at a urinal, always on your toes, because this is where shit happens, and this is where people get too comfortable when they have people in this space, especially this space.
That's 4 to 12 feet. Most offenders will make the decision to shoot shortly before the criminal comes within arm's length. This busts long-standing myths related to target practice at the shooting range.
Now, even when I was doing range training back in the 90s and 2000s, I didn't like shooting that far. All my training was in that 12 feet area. 10, 12 feet, 5 feet, 4 feet. Everything was up close. Because that's where all cops get in shootings. We're trying to confront somebody. We got them at gunpoint. We're trying to stop a car. We're entering a building. Almost all cop shooting. Cops that are and there's other agencies still training at 50 yards. You got to qualify and hit a target at 50 yards. And I'm like, why? That's just a waste of time and ammo. And they'll actually disqualify someone from carrying a gun if they miss at 50. And I'm like, the odds of somebody shooting that far not only is slim to none and slim left town, if you shoot that far, you are really getting into a legal problem. Were you really in fear of your life? Could this guy really hurt you? Did you really need to shoot him, or could you have increased that distance or took cover? So I just don't like training for long shots with a pistol. Obviously, a rifle's a different story.
The traditional shooting distances and aiming stances may be important for law enforcement.
This dude, I think I did a video on this guy. Guy tried to carjack him. He pulls out a gun and goes to town.
Officers, but they bear little relation to the real-world shooting tasks citizen defenders actually have to perform. The mission of police and military shooters requires them to fully subdue their targets.
Not really. I mean, that may be the goal, but there's plenty of women that show up and then leave and wait for the guys to go catch them or whatever.
Citizen defenders have a much easier mission. They only have to survive the encounter. Now let's look at weapon carry. Only 20% of the time do defenders have their weapons on their body.
That's really surprising. I am very anti keeping your gun in a lockbox, keeping your gun unloaded. I do not like that. I get it. People are like, well, you don't have kids in your house and you don't understand the kids coming. Look, you hide the gun, you put it somewhere where they can't get it or only you can get to it. I mean, there's ways to have an unloaded gun. It just doesn't do anything. Somebody's going to grab it in a crisis and either drop the money. You're going to be attacked by an aggressor while you're trying to load. I do not like unloaded guns. That's why I get so much heat on my videos, because every time I pull a gun out and try to do it, it's always loaded. Man, that gun's not safe. It should be unloaded. Shut up. I handle loaded guns my entire life. Okay? Keep your damn finger off the trigger and you won't have a shooting. So, but anyway, this is kind of surprising to me. Not to mention, this is a bad holster. On my website, thinklikeacop.org, this is how a guy had this holster. Notice how the holster bent in and hit the trigger. And when he holstered his gun or moved his gun, it fired his gun because the holster was bent in a little bit. So leather holsters like that can cause a misfire. But anyway, I digress.
When the incident started. The other 80% of the time, they had to retrieve their weapon from storage. Here's how retrieving from storage versus weapon carried on body breaks out by location for successful defenders.
Okay, so it looks like a lot of blue for storage and a lot less red for carry. I'm not sure if carrying a gun in your car would be for storage. I mean, I always have a gun laying around. I got several guns in my car, but I'm usually an access a gun. Now here, I don't know where they're going to get a gun unless these are businesses that have to go get a gun. If I'm in a business, I can't go get a gun. If I'm driving around, I don't have a gun in my car, I can't go get my gun. If I'm on a park bench, I don't know how I'm going to get my gun. So I'm a little confused about this stat here. In your home, obviously, I get that one. I'm not sure on these.
Just look at the numbers for home defense. Self-defense incidents rarely occurred in quarter-second intervals, or what the pros call reaction time. Most commonly, criminals performed a monkey dance, slowly circling their intended victims and communicating with them.
Okay, so normally what he's calling a monkey dance or whatever, the hot gun shuffle, whatever you want to call it, these guys are usually, this is your initial contact where people are confused and shocked and startled. People will usually panic, move, and run. Somebody kicks in your door, you're probably moving and running. You either run into a gun, you're running to a door, you're running to block the door. You're moving when they come in. So they're moving and you're moving. So I'm not sure a guy comes in and points a gun at you and then this shuffle starts. But let's see what he says.
Without attacking. This went on long enough that defenders often even had time to access weapons that were stored in other rooms.
So let me tell you, if you're a criminal and you come with a gun and you allow a guy to go in a room and get a gun and come back and shoot you, man, you are a really bad criminal and you need to pick a different career, because I just don't see this happening. But
this highlights some equipment and skills that would-be defenders often fail to prioritize. Most everyday...
I hate safes like this. I have one of these safes. Shit, I want to sell it because I don't ever use the damn thing. It's just sitting in here taking up space. It's a pain in the butt. I never keep a gun in a safe. I think I either won it or some raffle or some shit. I don't even know how I ended up with the damn thing. But I ain't never used it. I'll tell you that. I might have put freaking some money in it one time. But, I mean, a safe, a criminal comes in, they pick it up. Obviously, you can bolt it down. Yeah, the finger, it's cool. It's got a light and it's in the night. And you can, look, that shit just doesn't. When you're waking up in the middle of the night and you're in like an oh shit moment and you hear banging or you hear your wife or a kid scream or something, I mean, to go in there and go, oh, let me go in here and go, what's my combination? A 3, 4, 2, 1. I'm just not a fan of these people. I think they cause unnecessary lag time and you're risking your freaking life a lot more than if you had your gun somewhere that's accessible. Shit, hang the damn thing on a wall on top of a closet to where nobody can get it or see it. I mean, there's plenty of ways to hang a gun or hide a gun. I just don't like locking them up or keeping them unloaded.
Citizens understand that always and everywhere concealed carry is not practical or desirable. It is possible.
I don't know when it's not desirable. I don't ever want to go anywhere where I can't carry a gun. I went on a cruise and was like freaking pissed that I couldn't carry a gun.
and wise to train around that truth. Preppers often worry about multiple attackers, especially bands of raiders coming to their home during SHDF.
Okay, so this was a scene from The Walking Dead, which is pretty cool. They get hit by a law rocket right after they all get blown to hell. Pretty good scene in Walking Dead. But anyway, look, I don't think you have to worry about armed guys like this, but home invasions are becoming more and more prevalent, especially in city areas, and multiple people come in. And when I was working, when we went to home invasion crime scenes, it was pretty traumatic. I mean, these guys come in, 3 or 4 guys with somebody in the car, and I mean, they just dominate. They tie people up, they duct tape, they rip the phone. I mean, it's like TV shit. They rip the cord off the lamp and tie people up and gag them. I mean, when you got multiple invaders coming in, if you aren't getting rounds off when either they're trying to get in or as immediately as they get in, your odds of surviving are freaking slim. Let me tell you. Because once they get in and dominate and come in like a SWAT team on your ass, once they overpower you like that, you're at their mercy.
Conditions. Werner provides some insights here too. 36% of his incidents involved multiple conspirators. In these cases, the most common group was a 2-man action team. If there was a third man, he was typically the driver of a getaway vehicle. There seemed to be no cases in which the driver acted as a reinforcement once the shooting started. If there was...
Okay, he may have not just had that in those stats. We've definitely had that in places I work, to where the driver gets out and returns fire for his buddies running to the car. Now, obviously, most times, the guy in the driver car runs off and panics as soon as they hear shots, which I think he covers. So, but there are situations where these guys are armed and the guy in the car has a long gun and he's ready to lay down some suppressive fire if his guys go on a take. So don't fall for this. You only have to plan for one person.
As a fourth man, he was most often stationed outside as a lookout. The outside actors did not appear to be armed. At the sound of gunfire, immediate flight was the most common response for drivers and lookouts. The largest group in the study was a gang of 7. This is the Prepper's Band of Raiders scenario. In that case, an alert and prepared homeowner saw the bad guys invade an adjacent home and accessed his shotgun. When they broke in his door, he killed 2 and wounded 1.
Yeah, so this dude's my hero. He got him a shotgun. And you know what? I'm going to venture to say the shotgun wasn't locked in a safe and it was already loaded. I would put an extreme amount of money on this case. He did not have to look for ammo, and he did not have to work a combination lock in order to get his gun out of a safe. That gun was available and loaded, and he was able to engage them when they're entering or before they're entering. That's the only way you survive a home invasion type situation.
1. The rest promptly fled the scene. Remember, armed bandits are looking for victims. What they are not looking for is a fight. Most common responses and held them for authorities. The most interesting data points of the study: the number of shots fired. The average number of shots successful defense.
This is kind of interesting. What do you think the number of shots fired, everybody? Just take a guess. I would say 3 to 5.
Defenders fired was just 2.2. And the mode, or the most common number of shots, was 1.
That, I think, is the exception, not the rule. Even though he's got stats to say it, firing 1 shot to stop something, very rare. That ain't gonna be me. I guarantee you, somebody breaking into my house, I am not gonna be on this stat to where he just fired 1 round. You can take that shit to the bank.
This destroys 2 myths. First, that you need a large stockpile of ammunition for self-defense.
I don't think that's a myth, and I think it's planning. I think it's smart. I think when there's an ammo shortage like now, having a large stockpile of ammo is a good thing. I think you can always sell ammo for at least what you purchase, if not more than what you purchase. It's an investment in your life and your future, and you're not going to lose money on it. So I don't think this is a myth.
And second, a high-capacity magazine is essential for self-defense.
I don't think it's essential, but I do think more rounds are better if you can have it. Okay? I mean, according to this guy, AR-15 should only have a 2-round mag, and that's all you need, because most shots are only 2 points. I'm not saying this guy's saying this. I think this guy did a great job on this video. But I'm just saying, I don't want people to walk away from this thinking that you don't really need large capacity mag. Large capacity mags are a great equalizer, just like a gun is a great equalizer. A single shot gun, if the single shot gun was really good, all our military would still be carrying a single shot gun. It ain't good. It's called progress. It's called multiple adversaries. It's called chaos. It's called shit is bad. You never know what's going to happen. And more rounds are always better. I carry a 5-shot, but I always have my Glock in the car also. With, you know, my Glock 21, however many rounds it holds. I don't know, 10, 12, 14, whatever. So I have that. And then I have my AR in the car, and that always has a couple 30-round mags. So, you know, am I going to use those in every incident that I had? Maybe not, but I want to have them.
Gun. When more than 2 shots were fired, it generally appeared that the defender's initial response was to fire until empty. Firing until...
This dude's freaking crazy, dude, shooting crazy shit. I'm sure this is some sort of joke on how to move and look Hollywood.
Empty is a terrible strategy for self-defenders. First, you should never fire more rounds than are needed to stop the threat.
Well, obviously cops don't do that. See, this is my big problem why I'm cracking on cops so much. Cops, who are supposed to have more training and are supposed to be more proficient with the law, don't have to follow the law, and they do everything that when pesky citizens do it, they want to tell us how bad we are, and that's why we shouldn't have guns, and that's why we need more training, and that's why there needs to be background. See, they always want to do that on pesky citizens. Cops are the worst damn shooters and safety people out there now. They spray and pray. They shoot multiple rounds. They miss more than they hit. They don't clear their backstop. They're shooting innocent people. It's just freaking crazy. But as a citizen, you are always in legal jeopardy if you have a gun.
Prosecutors and juries appreciate restraint. Second, you are legally responsible for every bullet that leaves the barrel of...
Cops right now are going, not us, we just spray and pray.
...your gun, including any that accidentally hit innocent bystanders. Of the 482 incidents, only 3 required reloading.
Okay, this is a very, I think, accurate thing. Throughout my time, very few times do people reload. Now look, as a cop, I always carried 2 extra mags on me. So, you know, I always had 3 full mags on me. But that was in uniform. Even when off uniform, if I had my web belt on, obviously I had that. But most of the time I had my pistol in my pocket. So, look, reloading, is it really critical? No. Should you still be proficient and know how to do it? Yes. So just because the likelihood that you'll never do it should mean that you don't train on reloading, I don't agree that when you're riding around in civilian clothes that you should have 14 mags twisted around your belt like you're going to a 3-gun shooting thing to where you're going to be reloading 5 times in 3 seconds and all that crap. But, you know, it's just something to take away from it.
This busts the myth that carrying multiple magazines and speed reloading drills are a priority.
I feel like this guy's cracking on Ask because Ask teaches all stupid shit that he thinks is cool. And the guy's never carried a gun, never even worked a job with a gun. And he's got millions of subscribers and people think he's some sort of freaking expert. And I'm just like, dude, this dude haven't even been in a fist fight. I mean, he's never even been robbed, never even been to a robbery, never even been in court to testify. And people run around like he knows what, you know, I still block people when they come here and go, man, you don't know what you're talking about. You need to go to Ask. He's good. And I'm like, you're a freaking idiot. Anyway, I digress.
For effective self-defense. Remember, the mission, needs, and legal status of police and military shooters are very different from those of private citizens.
I'm not sure they're totally different, but I guess they are a little bit if you want to say what they're doing.
That his analysis of positive outcomes only paints the picture of what successful armed defense incidents look like. He concludes his analysis by saying the potential victim's mindset and situational awareness.
Hey, this girl's watching my channel. Check it out. 5-shot revolver with an internal hammer. In her pink purse. Okay? She doesn't have to worry about moving parts, semi-automatic, reloading, nothing. She can get the guy off her in 5 rounds. I like it.
Was far more important than the gear and equipment they used. He offered the following methodology: be willing to fight. 3.
Oh, what was the
defense.
first one? Sorry.
1. Be aware. 2.
Situational awareness.
Be willing to fight.
Mindset. You have to be able to react. You can't be thinking about, can I shoot somebody once you have your gun out? You need to already know, look, I know I'm capable of pulling trigger, and if the situation is there, I got to defend myself or my family.
3. Have a weapon
accessible means on you in my book, or within arm's reach, not locked and unloaded.
4. Be familiar enough with the weapon to employ it without fumbling. 5. Communicate to the attacker that resistance will be given.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, if you pull a gun on somebody, that's a universal language. Most people know that's kind of an oh shit moment. They kind of know what you mean. I'm pretty sure a deaf and blind person can pull a gun on somebody, and they're going to figure out that dude's got a gun pointed at me. This probably isn't a good thing. But communicating helps you breathe, and it looks good, and it sounds good if you're being recorded, and it communicates to other people.
And 6, if the attacker does not withdraw, counterattack without his.
Okay, so that was the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Man, 36 minutes. I went a long time. His video is 10 minutes long. Rational Prepper, give him a like, sub. I thought it was a great video. I just, I told you where I disagreed and my take on the video. All right, we'll end that there.